But first up, an exclusive interview to NDTV's Mohidipa Banerjee from Congress MP Shashi Tharoor, where he said that he was touched by the Prime Minister's praise on Twitter for him joining the Swachh Bharat campaign.
No personal questions, that's the understanding, but with me is Dr. Shashi Tharoor at the APJ Kolkata Literary Festival. Dr. Tharoor, let me start first of all by thanking you for speaking to me. And let me ask you right away that, a book release at the time of a media trial. How difficult is it all proving to be?
Well, it certainly means there's a lot more media interest than would normally be expected in a literary festival, and that can get in the way of writers, and it can also in some ways add some amusement to others. But frankly, since their interest is not very literary, I think we just have to ignore it and focus on the world of books, which is what I'm here to discuss.
The world of books. How do you manage to write so much in between tweeting so much?
Well, tweeting doesn't take very long. It's a question of 140 characters a few times a day, and that's not necessarily every day, and usually done in the car between meetings and that sort of thing. So it's not a terribly onerous imposition. Writing is something that I do whenever I can. It matters a lot to me. I've often quoted George Bernard Shaw's famous line that I write for the same reason that a cow gives milk. It's inside me, it's got to come out. And I have been writing short pieces, 1,000-word kind of pieces, and sometimes slightly longer, intermittently in any case throughout my time in politics as well. And in some cases, of course, they've been worth reproducing in India Shastra. In some cases, they've been either merged, rewritten, updated, or to become part of the larger themes of this book. But I'm very pleased that through this festival I've had a chance to once again put forward my views about the transformation of India through this, what is the last volume of a trilogy that began with India from Midnight to the Millennium on the 50th anniversary of India's independence, continued with The Elephant, the Tiger and the Cell Phone on the 60th anniversary, and now with this huge sea change of the 2014 elections, seems a good time to take stock of India, the legacy, where we stand, where we're heading, and of course the attempted modification of India, which we are also looking at in this book.
At this point I must ask you, since I also asked you about tweeting, you and Modi, would it be right to describe you as Twitterati friends?
Well, first of all, Mr. Modi and I are no longer in the same league. He's the Prime Minister of India and he's way above in Twitter followers as well, and that is as it should be. Though I must say that I was proud that until he overtook me, I was the #1 followed politician in Twitter. And I'm glad that it's become such a sensible thing to do that. I mean, the truth is that I gave an interview, what was it now, 6 years ago, or five years ago, saying that I believe that every major politician will be tweeting within 10 years. And I'm glad I was proved wrong by 50%, because within 5 years now, there's only a handful of politicians who still resisted the siren call of social media, and those are not on Twitter, at least on Facebook. So clearly social media as a way of engaging with the public in a democracy is here to stay.
The Prime Minister hopefully is doing much more than tweeting. How would you evaluate his last few months?
Well, I think it's fair to say that it's too early to come to a definitive conclusion, but I see a rather big gap between rhetoric and reality. The Prime Minister has been broadly saying the right things, and I have acknowledged that, sometimes to the dismay of my own party colleagues, but the speeches don't seem to necessarily be followed by any concrete results on the ground. You see, it's not okay to have objectives announced. New Swachh Bharat Abhiyan and various schemes have been announced with great fanfare. But what we don't see is linkages to an actual budget, a tangible, workable implementation plan, and a concrete set of responsibilities to fulfill them. Now, if you don't do that, then you are basically making sound bites. You're not actually delivering change to the nation. And this has been my big worry with Mr. Modi, which these 8 months have done nothing to dispel. Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, we've seen a lot of photo ops. I did, as I was requested by him, a thing in Trivandrum, sent him a detailed project proposal. I've had no reply. The model villages for MPs, The model village has been announced, but not one additional paise has been given to the MPs. So how are we supposed to do anything different from what has been done before? And so on and so forth. Aside from repackaging and renaming UPA schemes, I have not seen any new achievements in these 8 months that we can truly point to and say, this new government has done something new.
My last question on the Modi factor before I go on to Congress. Do you think he is torn between his RSS roots and the need for development?
Well, I think this is the central paradox we see with Mr. Modi. Not only is there no connection between the speech-making and the aspirations that he articulates and the actual results on the ground, but there is also no connection between his kind of concerns, which most Indians share, the economic development concerns he articulates, and the actual beliefs and priorities of the very, if you like, electoral stormtroopers, the soldiers, the foot soldiers of the movement, who, as you know, have been talking about Hindutva and love jihad and having more Hindu babies and driving Muslims out of the country and God knows what else, which seems to be really what is on their minds as their idea of a priority. Now, that is not only not a priority that appeals to the nation and the non-Hindutva voters who gave Mr. Modi a mandate, but it is also something that will directly put off foreign investors. I have written an article quoting a prominent German investor in India as saying that he would not find it appealing to come and invest in an India that is pursuing Hindutva, and certainly an anti-Muslim India will not appeal to Arab investors and so on. So if you want investment, if you want to prioritize economic development, you've got to make a choice and you shut up these people. But Mr. Modi has stayed silent. So if he has not encouraged them, he has certainly condoned them. And that, I'm afraid, is simply not going to serve the objectives that he has set himself.